Rosemary King is our guest here, and part of what was raised earlier is the question of what do we have a lot of folks who are spending time doing nothing, as she said, putting up a blanket to stop stones from hitting vehicles, not really making a difference. The proposal recently is that they can use those workers and train them in the agricultural sector, which is going to put a dent, hopefully, in that $4 billion import bill we have.
Which has gone up to 5.5.
Which has gone up to 5.5. Speak to that, please.
Yes. Obviously, we should have been doing these things a long time ago. We did set up these programs as being short-term, make work until we did some training of these people, and then they could graduate from the program. We didn't really get down to that. So this is really a move in that direction. Yes, URP can be used very effectively in CPEP, in URP in agriculture, sorry. That will be productive work. There's no point in, as I said, building buildings which are not going to be producing anything or being productive in the building of our economy. And I see that as a very positive move, of course.
And it will give them something to actually
have. It will give them some training in something that they don't have now. It will add to the productivity. It will add to the goods going to market. It may bring down prices. It may not bring down prices. But at least we are training people to go into agriculture, which has been neglected for, God knows how many years.
And I mean, outside of just the neglect of the sector itself, there is a whole training, there is a whole awareness you have to bring to folks of the importance of buying things that are done locally.
Yes, we can do it. And this is what we don't have, that feeling, that passion, that we are Trinidadians and we are capable of doing these things ourselves. Why is our food import bill 5.5 billion? I know we can't produce everything. There are certain things that are built, that are grown in the temperate climates. We cannot produce them here, but there are many things which we can produce, and we could be producing not just for us, the school feeding program, to incorporate that agriculture into school feeding, and they'd be actually having a diet which is rich in minerals and vitamins and whatever, and it's good is grown here. And we'd also have some surplus perhaps for the regional market, if not Florida and abroad.
New emphasis has been put on. I'm going to introduce yet another area. Like I said, when I looked at what you're doing, I said she's got expertise in all these areas, and they all base in your economic field. Well, the question of tourism.
Everything is linked.
Tourism, yes. Folks are saying that tourism is not a panacea, but it is a good way of getting some serious revenue to meet the shortfall. Do you concur with that?
Well, tourism, yes. Can have an impact, but you see, we are competing with the rest of the region. Everybody in the region is in tourism and financial services, so really and truly we have to build something new and innovative into our tourism niche, so that you will be able to be guaranteed that you will have a certain number of tourists coming here to Trinidad for that particular purpose.
Gregory Maguire proffered that we can do cultural tourism.
We haven't done, that's right. We haven't done the research into, and that's what that diasporic foresighting exercise would have done for us, brought us into a realm of what are our niches that we can build upon, what are our comparative advantages to which we can build to bring competitive advantage. We have to do that exercise. And I'm saying now is the time. The new minister is determined to go into the innovation policy and create the new things that have to be created, and therefore we have to do the research into tourism. But I can't see tourism replacing oil and gas, which is the bulk of our foreign earnings comes from oil and gas. And if we have to build an economy which will bring us at least half of what we're now earning from oil and gas, so we supplement it, and then we can be sure that we will build on those that we could even do without oil and gas in the next 20 years.
Fortunately, I've not heard anybody get to the point of saying that we are in fact going to replace the oil and gas. They are saying that, yes, this is one of the areas
it will always be part of our economy whilst it's there. But as we say, we have probably less than 11 years. Unless God is a Trini really and brings us new oil, which is competitive.
It may be costly. It may be costly, yes. But,
yeah, but we also know that in the next few years, oil and gas is not supposed or not projected to increase by very much.
No, right. There is an increase projected,
I heard
but
the
not
minister
very much.
last week saying he has got some reports from the IMF and somebody,
Yes.
and the Economic Intelligence Unit that oil was going to reach a certain figure.
70.
But that is not borne across all the other research and all the other institutions which do the same kind of work. So we haven't really got a guarantee that oil is going to go up. So we still have to do the work, and we have to continue to build Trinidad and Tobago so that we can have industries which can earn foreign exchange that will supplement the oil and gas. Right now, oil and gas, we have 5.5 billion expected in this budget. Fell from 13 last year. So what are we doing next year? And that's the big issue. What are we doing next year? Had we really proceeded to do the diversification exercise, we might be in a better position today, but that didn't happen.
In responding to the inquiry I made of tourism in one swoop, my guest, Mary King, wiped out the area that was also touted as an area of diversification in the budget, and it is the feeling of many people to do a financial center. You say that is service, but that is not.
Well, it's back office work. It's not going to bring us new foreign exchange. It is big companies using us to do their back office work, which is really a low-level professional, just out of university level graduate. That is not going to replace very much.
But innovation we're talking about.
It is not going to build the knowledge base that we need to build. It's just more of the same. That's what I'm saying.
Guide us then, and what areas we should be putting our emphasis on.
That's where the foresighting has to be done. That goes back to the exercise that I talked about.
But you had the exercise, so I'm asking.
The exercise was ongoing, the foresighting, which would have brought us those focal points, those niches, which we could then have built the centers of excellence around.
So we need
to do the work. You can't talk around it. You need to do the work.
Are you encouraged by any part of the budget that was put out by the finance minister?
I wouldn't say there was anything very, very exciting. I would say there was more disappointment in the figures, more disappointment that we didn't try to reduce aggregate spending, more disappointment in that to make up the shortfall between the 41 and the 63 that we are going to sell our assets. You don't sell a productive asset for current expenditure. No financial planner would ever do that. And when you get to that stage, well, you really have got a lot of work to do how we are going to manage next year. Now, he said this is an interim budget. This is a 6-month thing. He's going to come back in March. So we are all waiting with bated breath for March and hope that the minister has absorbed what he heard in the Senate, especially from the Senator Danishwar Mahabir, who's saying exactly the same things that I've been saying for years and years and years. And this year, I think we were shocked to see a budget of 63 billion. So I think in March, he has to come back with a plan. This is how we are going to work for the next 3 years or 5 years. This is how we're going to reconstruct. This is how we're going to build new industries. This is how we're going to earn more foreign exchange. And if he doesn't come with that, then he has to go back to the drawing board.
As an economist and one familiar with how government works, very familiar with how the government works, as a couple of economists we've had here before, Prophet, you are looking at someone coming in, working on numbers that started accumulating a year before, so it's difficult for them to put the brakes and just stop everything.
Correct.
So this, in fact, was a tied-over budget, as it were, on its way to 6 months is really going to make a statement
Correct.
to us.
So we're hoping and looking forward to that budget.
Give me your take on property tax reintroduction.
Great.
Yes.
It should never have stopped.
Precisely.
Yes. Should never have stopped. We have sat now for 5 years and have foregone 200 million a year, so that's $1 billion.
Exactly.
Should never have stopped. As a matter of fact, it was going to be introduced a few years ago, and then that was stopped. So now that it's back, good, and you have to build on that.
And you do an assessment of what exists now, and in some cases it will be way higher than where they are starting, which is at the 2029 figures.
2009 figures,
yes.
Which were the old Act. So therefore, none of those were very high.
As an economist,
nobody complained about property tax up to 2009. Nobody.
So there was no reason to suspend it.
Nobody could complain that they're bringing it back. That was a good move.
You, as an economist, I know you're chagrined by the amount of productivity hours that are lost on the roads. There seems to be no cure inside. There is discussion of mass transit. How do you feel about that proposal?
Well, I don't know if we need mass transit. Have we explored all the other options given what we have now in situ? And if you look at the competitive index reports, you will not see one item which says loss of time because of roads. You will see work ethic, you will see corruption, you will see all manner of things, but you will see nothing to do with traffic on the road. So that is not to be counted.
Never walk in with a set of prepared questions, but listen to your guests and they will guide you there. You walk into the area of productivity. That is the work ethic. That is a serious problem in Trinidad and Tobago. Offer some direction as how Mary King, the economist, see we can go about correcting this. Many say, listen, that is what makes us unique. I am merely quoting. As Trinidad and Tobago, we work and we have a good time. And, the culture itself is not one that stays in a regimented form, many argue. Let me hear Mary King's version.
That's why we're here where we are today. We have not done what we need to do to bring about new areas of development. We have not given anybody any incentive to get up in the morning and this is great, we're building Trinidad and Tobago. 72% of our graduates emigrate, although we're saying everybody must have a tertiary education. We have 62% of the cohort getting a university education, but 72% of those who graduate are emigrating. We have not given them the interest to stay. We have nothing for them to do. So until you get these things going and spark their interest and keep them in Trinidad and Tobago, then productivity will remain as it is. Nobody's complaining.
You never ask an economist really to crystal ball too much in conclusion.
No.
Mary King, very rare do you guys like to crystal ball, and I understand that because everything is science-based. But look at me.
And the world is so dynamic. The world is so dynamic.
Yes, there are so many variables. There are so many variables. We don't see you. From what you have said this morning, you do not accept the IMF projection, and even if you do, it is not going to be sufficient to make up for the shortfall of what we make in taxes from our oil. Understood. In the next 5 years,
well, our oil is declining. Our gas is declining.
Yes. Next 5 years, you're talking about innovation, and I hope that your meeting, in fact, help to push that forward. But I am still lost, and forgive me if I'm a little slow on this. I'm going to ask you to repeat. When we say innovation, I know you said that you started canvassing to get to a point where you can decide this, and this. I understand that. But from where you sit right now.
It was more than canvassing. It was research
yes, consultation is what I should have said, yes.
Analysis and coming down to conclusions.
Yes. Give us some direction through the eyes of Mary King. Top 3 priorities of the nation now.
We have to introduce the triple helix innovation system. We have to introduce it. And, we have to go back to the drawing board as far as our spending is concerned. That's number 2. And I think if we're serious about building our families and our communities, we have to get into the program. We have to develop more social workers, more psychiatrists, more psychologists. These are the people that will be used to go into the communities, to hold their meetings and discussions, and to be able to come up with conclusions and suggestions as to how we can rebuild these communities and the revamping of our education system.
There's a cost in doing that, even providing more social workers. There's a cost in retraining and so on. How do you offset that as an economist?
Well, if the Minister of Finance would probably say he'll sell more assets, but I think that you have got a budget, and with prioritization, you could go, if you're really serious about this economy and this situation, we're in a crisis that we're in, you would go back to zero-based budgeting, which is you sit down with each ministry and you say, what do we really need in this ministry? We need that. You cut out all the fluff and all the extras, and you will find so much savings that you'll be able to create the programs for the community people, the social workers, the psychologists, and all of that.
Is that not what you're hearing right now?
No, I'm not hearing that we're back to zero-based budgeting. I am hearing that we're going to re-look at the budget, and we're going to come back to you in March with a new budget.
I remember, and I ask you that because I have heard uttered a number of times that what we are looking at is more efficiency, properly handling what we are already committed to.
That's my point. Prioritizing. What do we really need? What is it we need? These are the things we must have. Mm-hmm. Everything else is fluff, and therefore let's use that fluff to go into areas that we've not been able to fund before and get these things going to build these communities.
In thanking you as a sort of synopsis of some of the areas we went into, and there were many.
Too many.
And my guest had too many of them. You say that as far as price control is concerned, there is nothing you can do in a free market because all you have to do is provide more products and the market will control the price.
Yes, supply and demand.
All right. As it relates...
If you push money into the economy, which we've been doing for years and years and years, the last 9 years, we're pushing a lot of money into the economy. We have a lot of liquidity, and so long as you have that liquidity, the merchants know it's there, and therefore they'll push their goods prices to what the market can bear.
We've got to find a way to keep our talent here. Control the brain drain is what you're saying, and we can do this by having industry to keep them occupied. To employ them.
New and innovative industries that will build the knowledge base that can bring this country to a developed nation status.
Mm-hmm. Some tighter austerity measures you would propose because we have to go back to zero is what you're saying. Take absolutely what is necessary and prioritize.
I'm saying we have to go back to basics, go back to zero-based budgeting and look at the things we really need now and what are the things we could do without, and the money for the things we could do without, we have to use for the reconstruction. You
do not see a great disparity between incomes of male or female, but you do see the need for us to retrain a number of the ladies, of the mothers that we have in the special works program and give them something more sustainable.
Of course. We'd be neglecting them if we didn't.
All right. Mary King, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us this morning.